The system is failing. We're going to have more homelessness, more unemployment, and the government has to print more money. It's a command and control economy where the government tells you everything. I just don't trust our government. And they're going to have to start printing pretty quickly. And the more they print, the less value, purchasing power the dollar has, or the loonie, or the yen, or the peso. People are talking about inflation. I think we're in depression right now, and we're going to be the biggest depression in world history. In the 1970s, that's when the world was changing. The biggest bust in the history of the world is coming up. It's pensions. They trusted the government. They trusted their pension would be there, and it's going to go bust. And that's us. We get crushed.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. As, oh my goodness, Ripple's annihilating the SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, do you feel it in the air? I can feel strength, power, posturing by Ripple. And if the SEC knew what was good for themselves, they would settle immediately. This case, if you've been paying attention, has been teetering more into a favorable ruling for XRP. And people still ask me questions, Bull, why is the price still low right now? It's God giving you an opportunity to break free. The fact that you still have these prices knowing how favorable this case is going to be for Ripple and XRP is silly to me. Ladies and gentlemen, regulation is here. We've been waiting years for this. 2 years Ripple has been in this lawsuit, and settlement talks are in the air. I smell it. If the SEC knew what was best for them, they'd do it immediately. And what's actually crazy about all of this unfolding all at once is that when you look at the geopolitical macro events taking place in the world, you'll be shocked. To me, it feels like XRP adoption and the global reset is aligning in real time. And let me paint this story for you, piece by piece. First of all, I think XRP is going to be called a commodity, not security, as the CFTC met with Ripple. Ripple is pushing towards the conclusion of this case. Ladies and gentlemen, I think all of you saw that Jeremy Hogan video. You breathed a sigh of relief. But what I, as an investor, I look at how XRP's been performing, accompanied with the good news. And ladies and gentlemen, XRP is absolutely flying right now. 41 cents. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think behind closed doors the settlement may have arrived. I think we've finally broken through all resistance. And I think all of you are about to see and understand what a regulated crypto market for XRP and other tokens will mean. Ladies and gentlemen, something massive that I thought about was how strategically Ethereum went about their merge. When we look at Ether, it's corrected a little bit after the merge, but that's okay. Because what I believe this was for is Ethereum prepping for future regulations against proof of work, against mining. They are now environmentally friendly and compliant with whatever is going to come with ESG regulation, and that is so important. Remember, Chris Larson from Ripple started the proof of stake, change the code Bitcoin campaign. The World Economic Forum echoed that and played a video about that exact initiative. It's all about the environment. It's all about climate change. It's all about the ending of this Ripple SEC case. And it's all about XRP experiencing a life-changing event. Guys, we've been seeing world-shaking events over the past couple weeks, haven't we? First and foremost, Queen Elizabeth died. That is massive for the global power structure. Something I haven't been talking enough about is, as far as the UK is concerned, London is the financial epicenter of the world. Them having a new queen, I believe they will take initiative in printing out a new currency. The last time someone died, they did this exact same thing, where they put on the new money, the new king or queen. I believe they're not going to come back, bring all the cash, all the pounds that are circulating in the world, and then reprint it in the form of cash. No, I believe London, the UK, might be the first central bank digital currency launched on the planet. And this is aligning with the end and potential settlement of this XRP case. Now let me be clear. There are other CBDCs in the world already live. China, for example, the Bahamas and the Sand Dollar, and others. But the UK would be the first Western superpower to really adopt this at scale. If that does happen, and it stays parallel with a cash-based system, it'll run smoothly and will be adopted. This will be massive for Ripple and XRP adoption. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we know how the Bank of England has discussed openly their proof of concept with Ripple. We know about the Digital Pound Foundation and how Ripple's on it. And we know how, ironically enough, Ripple's Swell Conference is November 16th to 17th in London. Guys, it may sound far-fetched. You have to be willing to open your mind to see what's really going on here. But I think the magic is in the air for our perfect storm. And the price is beginning to reflect that. Now, something that I want to show to all of you is how from Watcher Guru, Jim Cramer, the news for the masses, the front man to help you lose as much money as possible, Jim Cramer. He predicted ETH would pump 35 to 40% in April, and it's down 50% since that call. I believe cryptos are about to boom now. I believe XRP especially is about to move now. The end of this case will be revolutionary for the crypto industry. And if the SEC doesn't want to settle with Ripple, they will not get their full control. We need healthy regulations. And XRP has been at the center. An example of how to go about the crypto space compliantly, properly, and in the correct way from the ground up. XRP doesn't need a merge. XRP was built as is, already complete. Now, on top of that, as I was recording this video, remember I was talking about the climate. Ripple has just signed the climate pledge, a committee to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2040. As ESG and environmental policy is at the forefront of the current agenda, Ripple continues to show that they're on the same page. Faster, cheaper, cross-border payments, liquidity on demand. This lawsuit is ending the climate change narrative and agenda, and climate legislation is here, and XRP is going to be compliant in every single possible way. They've had the meetings with the IMF, central banks, the Fed. They've contributed globally to opening corridors. Japan, Europe. They've met with China, India, Russia. This is a global takeover. The US dollar is falling. They need an alternative. XRP's always been the stable alternative for the new world reserve currency. You guys all know this. And here, I'm going to play you some powerful clips by one of my favorite XRP Army members, Darren Moore Jr. Please take a listen and give him a follow.
That have besides flat out raising rates? Are there ways they can do it behind the scenes to try and put the clamps on it?
Well, they can withdraw some of this liquidity, but what they really want to do is basically displace the dollar with SDRs. And when you mention SDRs, people just yawn and, they're like, what are those? It's complicated. But they're already, basically the IMF, this is the unannounced part of G20. The IMF is being sort of anointed as a global central bank.
In the dot-com bubble, the big banks bailed out Wall Street. In 2008, the central banks bailed out the big banks. But here in 2022, who can bail out the central banks? The only institution on the planet that has no debt, that's the IMF. And we know how big and cozy Ripple, XRP have been with the IMF. That's all this has ever been about. The world reserve currency is about to shift. And I think XRP is the big missing piece.
They're now running a balance sheet. They've issued debt for the first time in history. They're issuing SDRs. The last SDRs came out around 1980 or 81, right. 30 billion. Now they're issuing 300 billion. When I say issuing, it's printing money. There's nothing behind these SDRs. So, I mean, this has to do with something called Triffin's dilemma. It came out in 1960. Economist Robert Triffin said, in order to stimulate world trade and the world economy, some hard currency country has to run persistent large deficits. But if you run persistent large deficits, eventually you go broke. And so he pointed out the dilemma in 1960, but didn't have an answer. Now, 50 years later, the U.S. is getting closer to going broke. We've fueled the world economy for the last 50 years. So how do you get out of that? Well, the U.S. can get its own house in order, but that would cause world trade to contract. So what you need is to kick the problem upstairs. So we're going to use SDRs to fuel the global economy, so that way we can take the dollar off in a corner and depreciate the dollar to solve our own debt problem. So that's the unannounced play. But the empowerment...
Does that mean that we're no longer the country that's fueling
exactly, and let's call that the new dilemma to replace Triffin's dilemma, which is we have a solution for Triffin's dilemma, which is SDRs, but we don't have a solution for the national security implications of that, which is how we, if we have to fight a war, if we have a catastrophe, we no longer have this privilege of printing money. We just have another currency like sterling, or maybe worse. And so, so what Warsh is saying is we're not going to let that happen. He's saying to the other members of G20, look, we sort of have to trash the dollar, but we're going to do it gradually. And if the market gets ahead of us, and you see gold at 1,500 or 2,000, we're going to raise rates a lot, maybe 50 or 75 basis points to defend the dollar. My point about doing it 6 months ago, but politically, absolutely impossible. I agree with that. You would get run out of town on a rail. But it would have gone a long way to strengthening the dollar and helping our economy in the long run.
Now, guys, the reason that is so important is because inflation has not stopped. Inflation is still rampant. Inflation will cause your assets to rise in value. That is the one principle you should always know. That is why we are becoming wealthy. We own digital assets. Assets go up in value during inflationary times. They are raising interest rates to try to protect the dollar. However, everyone, we are in an election cycle. The reason that's important is because the current people in power do not want to have a recession right before these election cycles. Inflation is extremely high. However, I think they slowed it down just enough to the point where now they're not going to let a recession occur. They're bringing on crypto regulations at the same time that there's going to be a liquidity crisis and stock market crash. Wow. This script is beyond anything I could have ever anticipated. But it's playing out in real time. Own assets during these inflationary times, because it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse every single day. Now here I have this, one of the biggest events that has me on the edge of my seat. This stock trading ban is not going to happen until after these midterm elections. Because of this, guys, I believe we have some runway to see cryptos potentially run. A lot of technical analysts have been providing evidence as to why the bottom's probably in for crypto. I'm in the edge of my seat but I see the rumblings and my crypto spidey senses are tingling. It feels amazing to be in the crypto market right now, especially with XRP rising. Continue to pay attention to XRP and you will become wealthy. And visit my channel every single day while the coverage of all of this breaking occurs. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.